All right, what do you say we take a look at a little bit of common knowledge and see some Magic the Gathering cards, and I'll tell you whether they're good in Pauper or not. Exciting, right? Scab Clan Mauler is green and a red. That's Gruul mana. I guess I should have said red and a green, but you know. It's a 1/1 human berserker with Bloodthirst 2. That means if an opponent was dealt damage this turn, this creature enters with 2+1/+1 counters on it, and it has trample. All right, obviously, you're not really going to want to play it on just as a 2-mana 1/1. That's not very good. Even 2-mana 1 with trample, not very good. But a 2-mana 3/3 with trample, it's better. It's better. It's not all that great. Bloodthirst is an interesting ability. I kind of dig it, but and also I like that it's just an opponent was dealt damage. It didn't have to be combat damage, so you can find ways of. There's lots of ways to damage an opponent, and then you get the extra bonuses from Bloodlust or Bloodthirst, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Originally from Guild Pack, which I also like. I'm a big fan of the original Ravnica set. But this guy is just a little too normal, and he doesn't have enough of a niche where I think the Pauper format really would want him. There's no deck that I can think of that's like, oh, this is the guy we need. If you're in Gruul, there's so many Gruul decks that you can play, and this guy just doesn't really go in any of them. So as far as a score, he's a solid little dude, but I wouldn't give him anything more than like a 1.8. Next up is Equinox, one of my favorite arts for Magic the Gathering. Look at that art. It's so good. It's an enchantment aura that enchants a land. Enchanted land has tap to counter target spell if it would destroy a land you control. $5, because we've never printed this card ever again outside of Legends. The cool art is not good enough here. There's not a whole lot of spells. There is one deck. Sorry, there's basically one. I guess you could argue there's a couple decks. There's Ponza, which is a land destruction deck specifically, and this I guess stops that, but it doesn't stop that very well. It's pretty inefficient to do that, and you have to be in white for this, so that limits the decks you can put it in. The other deck that potentially this helps to stop is like a any kind of cleansing wildfire deck, but those decks almost exclusively want to use cleansing wildfire on their own lands, and that's much more important because they can ramp and then draw. That's what you do with cleansing wildfire. I don't know. Does this go in does this go in the sideboard of a Tron deck? So you can protect your Tron lands if somebody tries to destroy those? I don't think so. You just go find another Tron land. You're gonna be fine. Cool card, cool art. Great job, Susan Van Camp. But this is just not. This isn't very good. It's a 1. I've spent too much time on it already. It's a 1. This doesn't come up nearly enough. Resounding Silence is 3 and a white for an instant that says exile target attacking creature, and it also has cycling for 5 green, white, blue, so 5 and Bant to discard this card to draw a card. But when you cycle this card, you exile up to 2 target attacking creatures. Okay, better. Sorry, I didn't play Shards of Alara. I was out of Magic at this point. I stopped playing after the original Lorwyn block, and I believe Shards is right after that. So this was definitely during my gap. Cool that it can be modal, and I like that. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit more. 4 mana for an instant that exiles target attacking creature is not particularly good. We have plenty of other white spells that can do similar things or more open things, and it can do them better. Do better, cheaper, more effectively. That's not that great. The exile is nice, but the rest of it, not all that great. The cycling ability, 8 mana to cycle a card. That's holding up a lot of mana. That also forces you to be in 3 colors, or at least be able to make 3 colors of mana for this. That's a lot to ask with a Pauper deck. And then you do, if you are able to pay that 8 mana, it does discard the card and draw the card. So you do get it replaced. That's nice. When you cycle this card, this ability happens. So it's kind of like a channel ability almost, because the cycling is an ability, not a cast. So it gets around counter spells. That's kind of cool. And you get the bonus of being able to do the card twice, really. So you're kind of paying for the card twice, but you get to do the card twice, plus you get another card. And now it's uncounterable, mostly. I still don't think that's worth 8 mana. And I definitely don't think it's worth 8 mana when you have to have Bant pips, all Bant pips, to be able to make that work. Normally I like modality, but when both sides of the modality are too expensive, I'm out. I'm out. And I think I'm out here. Really limited on the decks that you can play this in effectively. And it's also too expensive. I will give this I'm going to give it a 2. It's still removal, and that's all right, but it's not a removal I particularly like. I like the art on this one too. Good job, Mark Zug. Dark Remedy is our next card. It's 1 and a black for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+3 until end of turn. That is a very normal combat trick, and not a particularly good one. Also a little interesting to me that it's, a black card that is giving more toughness than power. Generally, this is the color of Unholy Strength. It gives you a +2/+1 instead of the Holy Strength. That gives you the +1/+2. So I'm a little surprised. To see +1/+3 out of a black instant card like this. It's just generally not that good. That's all I can say. This is a giant growth for double the price and missing a third. Yeah, missing a third of the the total bonuses you get from a giant growth. Nah, I'm good. Let's give this like a 1.5, I guess. It does it does what it does, and what it does is bad. That's all. I was trying to think of something better to say, but that's really it. Let's talk about Scavenge Blade. It's 1 and a red for an artifact that is an equipment. When this equipment enters, you attach it to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, and it equips for 2 and a red. Oh boy. I don't know if we've done this card before. Originally from Zendikar Rising, and also been Foundation and Jumpstart. Woof. There's just so many better cards in this that do this exact thing, but better. Let me show you a couple cards. Let's show you Inventor's Axe. I think we've already shown this one on the show before. But Inventor's Axe, 1 mana, flash. You can play it at instant speed. That's better. When it equips, you get a couple energy. We'll talk about the energy in a second. It also immediately attaches when it comes into play. It also gives +2/+0. And this equip cost is the 2 energy, which is the weird part. You get to kind of equip it for free once based on when it comes into play. And you don't get to equip it again. But that is so much cheaper than this. Look at this. This is sorcery speed when this comes into play. So you don't even get the fun of attaching it as like a combat trick. It's going to cost you 2 to bring it in. Double the amount of Inventor's Axe. And then equipping it for 3 mana? Terrible. How about Dueling Rapier? We've shown this one on the show before. Single red mana. Flash. When it enters, you attach. It gets +2/+0. That equip cost is higher. That's fair. But it does way better. What about Mirren? Mirren Bane Splitter. There you go. Mirren Bane Splitter. One red mana. Flash. When it enters, you attach it. +2/+0. And equip 3. That's just better than the Dueling Rapier. But that's showing you we have 3 cards that do that exact thing, but they all do it better. They all do it better. And you know what? I've got copies of this, of Dueling Rapier, and of Inventor's Axe in a Pauper deck because it's all built around these kind of flash speed equipment and putting them on first strike creatures or evasive creatures that are just able to crush opponents like that. It's a really cool deck, and it's a lot of fun. It also uses like Glinthawk to bounce the equipment back so you can avoid paying the equip costs and then flash them back in when you need to. So it's cool. It's a cool deck. This sucks though. Like, I just showed you 3 cards, so think of 12 copies of those cards. Do you really need to play 4 more of these? And these 4 are worse in every single way. And the answer is no. You absolutely do not have to do that. In terms of a score, it's pretty bad. It's like a 1.4, I guess. Again, mostly because there's cards that do this better. But also, I think even in a vacuum, this is not very good. Next up's Thrill of the Hunt. It is a single green mana for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+2 until end of turn. But it also has flashback for a white mana. That's cool. That's cool. Originally from Time Spiral, which I also dig. But it's fun that you kind of get 2 combat tricks here. Two chances at the combat trick. And it's also nice if you're in green decks. A lot of green decks are able to, or are even built around milling. So you mill this into your graveyard. Well, it's fine. You can still cast it later for its flashback cost, and you still get something. Like it's not a completely dead card in your graveyard. You get a little something out of it, and it's just a combat trick that is sitting there in your yard. And yeah, you have to have Selesnya mana at least, or the white mana to be able to cast that later. Still kind of cool. We saw that black instant that was +1/+3, and this gives you 2 opportunities of +1/+2. Although you could imagine, like, if you got to do both of these things, you just, because it's an instant, you cast it once, it goes to your graveyard, you flash it back at instant speed. Now you're giving +2/+4 for 2 mana. That's better than +1/+3. Not by a lot, but it is better. It's still not great at the end of the day. You're not going to play this there. You'd play your Giant Growth. You play other cards that are like this. Mutagenic Growth is a popular one that does something similar here. So you're never going to play Thrill of the Hunt, but it is a neat little card. And we'll give it a 1.7, I think. Gravedigger. Have we done Gravedigger before? I do not think we've done Gravedigger. Just a classic Magic the Gathering card. I want that original art, baby. Well, sorry. I don't want that portal art. I want that Tempest art. I like the portal art. It's creepy. It's certainly creepy, but this is the Gravedigger, baby. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. 3 and a black for a 2/2 zombie. When this creature enters, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Beautiful. Just beautiful, simple magic. What if you put a Scathed Zombie and a Raised Dead on one card? And they did. And it's great. I mean, it's not a very effective card, but it is a great card. One of my favorite cards of all time. Just so simple, so clean. What else can I show you here? Let's show you Grave Dig. Modern Horizons 3 gave you a sorcery for 2 mana that lets you choose one of these, but then you can entwine it. So you could just play Gravedigger. You could pay 4 and have this spell that does both things that Gravedigger does, or you can pay half as much and get either one of those 2 things if they matter to you. Or if you just kind of want a Gravedigger, but you're in a non-creature spell deck, Gravedig does what Gravedigger does, but without being a creature. That can be useful. Also, it's going to be in standard now. It's a Grave Shifter. Yeah, Grave Shifter. Not available for Pauper, but it is just a Gravedigger that is every creature type. And you know what? Look at that Modern Horizons art. Oh, look at that. It's like the original Gravedigger. It's the guy holding the guy, but now they're changelings. Ah, that's good. He's just a Gravedigger that's every creature type. Man, Magic the Gathering. It's cool sometimes, right? God, what do you give Gravedigger? I want to give it like an honorary 5. But I can't. This card is not seen in any Pauper deck these days, and for pretty good reason. It's just not very good. But at the same time, it's the best. It's the best, Jerry. The best. Let's very generously give it a 2.2 and move on for its power and toughness. Highland Giant is 2 and double red for a 3/4 giant. That's all it does. I guess technically it's better than a Hill Giant. Hill Giants are 4 mana for a 3/3, but that's only a single red pip. This is double red pip. So for that extra pip, you get an extra point of toughness. Still bad. Still bad. We'll give it a 1.1. What else do we have here? Black Mage's Rod. Yes! Have we done Black Mage's Rod? I don't know if we've done Black Mage's Rod. I think we did. Did we do a different Final Fantasy equipment and I just talked about Black Mage's Rod a lot? That could be. I love this Magic card. I love it so much. It is. I've got a Pauper deck that is basically built around this card. And I'm thinking about putting it in other decks too. It's just that good. Black Mage's Rod is 1 and a black for an artifact equipment with Job Select. When this equipment enters, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token, then attach this to it. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent and is a wizard in addition to its other types. And it equips for 3. All right. I love this for a couple reasons. One, this itself is a non-creature spell. So if you're playing multiples in your deck, and you should, playing this is a creature, but it doesn't count as a creature spell. So it will proc your other creatures with Black Mage's Rod attached to them and get you the damage out of that. I've got a deck that plays this card that is a Dimir deck that's all about flickering artifacts. You can flicker this artifact, and when it comes into play, it creates another creature that attaches to this. So now you get like an extra 1/1 on the battlefield. That can be something. It's not a whole lot, but it can be something. Plus, because you will have casted that card beforehand, that flicker effect, as long as it's a non-creature one, and all the ones I have are non-creature ones, you will get the damage before the flicker happens. So you still are getting the ping. That's pretty nice. And if you have multiple of these guys on the table, now you're doing multiple pings, and it can get out of hand pretty quick. This is cool. I love this card. It does so many cool things. It's a decent blocker too, as a 2/1 for 2. That's a halfway decent stat line, especially when you have all that gravy on the end of it. It's it's not a gutter snipe or something, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close to a gutter snipe. And man, effective, very effective. I'm going to give this a pretty good score. I'm going to give this a 7.5. It probably should be higher, honestly. It can go in a few different decks. It can also go in like an Orzhov Blade deck. I've been meaning to update my Orzhov Blade deck, and I think this is probably a good card, a good candidate to be an upgrade. So. Goes in lots of stuff, lots of artifact-based stuff. Can also be like an affinity enabler. Just lots of good reasons to play this. Let's keep going. 2 Crimson Kobolds. Oh, hell yeah. Crimson Kobolds is 0 mana. No mana. This is a free spell, and it's a 0/1 Kobold. It is $2.50 to buy a copy of this guy. And you know what? It's not bad. It's not bad. Free spells. You cannot discount free spells in Pauper. There will be things that matter about this. Sure, it's a 0/1. We all understand that. But if you have let's say you have like an Impact Tremors deck, You put 4 copies of this. You put 4 copies of Ornithopter. That's 8. That's 8 damage right there. That's 8 damage. You find a way to draw cards when you cast creatures. This is just basically a cycle, but then you get a 0/1 on the board. That's kind of nice. There's things you can do with this, and similarly to there's also the Phyrexian Walker. That's a 0/3 for 0. You generally play those before you play the kobolds, because 0/3 better than 0/1, and the Ornithopters for similar reason, plus the flying. But if you have a deck that finds ways of playing a bunch of 0-cost creatures and does something with them, this is another one that you can play. I'm not going to give this a great score because I haven't actually seen any deck that does take advantage of this, but I'd be remiss if I give any card that costs nothing, just a free card you throw on the table. I think you gotta consider that a little bit, right? I'm going to give this a 3. I'm going to give it a 3. I don't know all the stuff you could do with it, but I know you could do stuff with it. Let's give ourselves a bonus card and then get out of here. Bitter Bow Sharpshooters is 4 and a green for a 4/4 Jackal Archer. It's got Vigilance and Reach. Those are the abilities that you'd want together. Those are pretty good for a very defensive card. 4/4 body's all right. And you just attack into stuff and don't really worry about it. And you know that this is back here to stop anything that's going to come through. But French vanilla card costs a little bit more than you'd want it to cost. And it's kind of just not good enough. It's interesting. Well, interesting is the wrong word. It's effective. It's not interesting. And it's only kind of effective. Not too bad. Not too bad. I'll give it like a 2.6. And let's do one more bonus card. I'm feeling fun. Map the Wastes is 2 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle, and then you bolster 1, which means you choose a creature with the least toughness among creatures you control and put a +1/+1 counter on it. Okay. So it's a rampant growth, but also boosts a creature. That's cool. That's cool. It's an overcosted rampant growth if you don't have any creatures on the field. But you know how when you play rampant growth, sometimes you feel like you just kind of took your turn off? This at least feels like you progressed on the board as well. So sure, you don't get to cast your rampant growth on 2. So you're not jumping to that 4 mana, but you are jumping to 5. Jumping to 5 is pretty good too. There's a lot of good 5 drops, and being able to put that +1/+1 counter on your 1 drop or your 2 drop before you play this, that gives you a little bit more presence on board. I kind of don't mind it. It's tough. Like generally you're like, well, why wouldn't I just play the rampant growth? And you could play rampant growth on 3 as well. You can totally play a 2 drop on 3 and then play another 1 drop if you got it. But now you're playing a lot of cards, and maybe you're out of cards at that point. So to have something that kind of combines those two, I don't hate it. I don't really know where it goes. It doesn't really go into Gruul Ramp. Gruul Ramp has other cards that it plays that it kind of does more effectively. I think you have to put this next to something like Malevolent Rumble. That is a card that also does something. Like that card will mill 4, and you can bring a permanent from among the milled cards to your hand. So that could be a land, that could be an enchantment, that could be a really important creature. And then you also get a little bit of ramp in that you get the, I guess it's more of like a ritual, but you get the Eldrazi spawn. And so you can sacrifice that for the mana. And I think that probably makes a little bit more sense than Map the Waste. You're getting a little bit more overall value, even if the ramp is temporary. But also Malevolent Rumble only costs 2, and this costs 3. So, this decisions you have to make. But Map the Waste, I think, is a really flavorful card, really nice for Fate Reforged and the Tarkir block, but probably not really all that useful in Pauper. I'm spending way too much time on it. Let's give it like a 2.4, and now we'll really call it. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.